So back in January, we went to go see Megan, and while we were up there, this new movie called Fear had also dropped in theaters that day, and because it's horror, I always like to support horror and discuss it on the channel for you fine people, and some of you are not so fine. And we couldn't get to the times. They just wouldn't line up.
Nope.
And we tried to make it work. It just would not work. And we were going to drive back the next day to see it, but it's a far drive. It's over an hour there and an hour back. And then I saw the reviews, and they were super terrible. And I was like, you know what? I'm not driving up here.
Yeah.
I'll wait for VOD. It'll probably be out in a month. I mean, look at freaking Evil Dead Rise, which is killing in box office right now. And it's getting released in like early May on VOD.
I know.
So why the hell this took like 4 months,
I know.
3-4 months to get released on VOD is crazy to me. This thing should have been on VOD within the week with how bad it was doing, because maybe they could have got some money and piggybacked off of whatever promotions they were doing, so they didn't have to double dip on promoting it. But the people who released this on DVD is Redbox, which, so if you have a Redbox near you and you want to check this out, don't. You can go rent it from Redbox. That's the cheapest way to get it. So let's get into this. We now are finally seeing this. We did pay $5 to rent it on VOD.
We did.
Yikes. Okay. So we went into this movie not knowing almost anything about it. The only thing we knew was a very basic premise, essentially that, you know, whatever your biggest fear is, this thing can become a reality.
Right.
Which is cool. I mean, it's, you know, it's been done 1,000 times, but it can be very effective, right?
Absolutely.
Your worst fear coming true is terrifying. Obviously, it's your worst freaking fear. And essentially, this is a COVID movie, right? So there are these people who go to this.
It's a lodge.
Oh, yeah.
An old lodge.
So they go there. It's a big one, though. It's like not the size of the Overlook or anything, but like a smaller version. It's some getaway place. And so they rent this thing out. Just them. It's a huge place. I mean, it's pretty massive for like, 7 people? But I don't know. They have money. Whatever it is.
Yeah.
And this guy's coming here to ask his girlfriend to marry him. And he wants all of his friends to be there while they are there. Now, the COVID pandemic is happening at this time. So they all have to get tested. And they're wearing their masks. And it's very of the times. And you know, this movie's going to live in that small bubble. Where we all remember the masks, right?
Yes.
That's something, you know, when you watch a movie in like 10 or 15 years or 20 years or 30 years and they're like doing the 2020s.
Yeah.
The way they're going to, like, you know, let in us in on the fact that it's that time period.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to be wearing a mask. Be like, oh my God, remember when we had to wear those? Remember those days?
Yeah.
So this movie will be part of that.
Yeah.
Kind of time capsule, so to speak. Anyways, so while they're there at the cabin, it's a resort.
It's a lodge.
It's a resort lodge.
It's bigger than a cabin.
Yeah, it's like the place. Yeah, lodge. It's that. It's like kind of like the size wise. It's like the place from Don't Blink.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they rent this whole place out to themselves, and essentially some witch. Las Brujas has something, I don't know, the fear gets to them and it feeds off of it, whatever.
And they can be immortal.
So we went into this movie wanting to like it because we want to defend films, and I've seen a lot of movies get shit on that are unjustly shit on, and they're usually just fine. You know, I've mentioned the titles enough times, I don't need to go through them once again, but this happens all the time. So I went into this going, you know, it's probably all right. And it started off, and I thought I had it figured out at first, right? I kind of looked at her and I was like, I bet you people don't like this movie because, A, COVID, right? Because a lot of people see COVID and they see it as some, like, you know, agenda or some bullshit.
Yeah.
It's just pure nonsense. It's part of the fucking world. How could you not address it? But in number 2 is, like, the majority of the cast is black.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of fucking racist ass, lame ass people
Yes.
out there who, as soon as they see the cast is primarily black, they're gonna be like, woke!
Oh my god.
Right,
So
which is
stupid.
Insane. Like, that is so fucking crazy to me.
Yeah.
It does not. Anyway, I'm not even gonna get into that shit. It's not even worth addressing. But I just thought it was gonna be like, oh, it's just COVID and black people. This white people don't like
That's
this
why
movie.
people hate it.
And the reason that I thought that is because for the first like 20 minutes or so,
Yeah.
I thought the chemistry between everyone was good. I
Yeah.
liked their friendships and I liked everything. And I thought that
Me
we were
too.
setting things up really well.
Yeah, me too. I was really into the first 20 minutes of it. Like you said, everyone's chemistry was great. They felt very believable. I was into the setting and like the like the location and everything, and it was good. It was really good opening, honestly. The
Just-
only thing that was a little
It's a very good establishment of the characters.
yeah.
Right? That's it. And that's
Yes.
good because you want to like people to make sure that you care when they're in peril.
Right. Yeah. But then it just goes
But then the horror happens.
downhill. Yes.
Right? And that's where this film is a failure. And when you're making a horror movie, you can't just succeed in characters. You also have to succeed in horror.
Yeah.
Right? If you go to a comedy, if the jokes don't land, it's like, it's a failure because it's a comedy, right? I'm supposed to laugh. So the horror in this is just super, super lame and really poorly uninspired. And honestly, never once did did any of it even slightly remotely work for me in any way, shape, or form.
No,
I
none
never
of it worked
felt
for me either.
any of the horror elements working. It was almost impressive how poor I thought the horror was done.
I know.
Because it's like whoever directed this has absolutely no comprehension of like how to create horror in film.
Yeah. It's just there was none of the tension and like suspense and dread. Like none of those things were built at all. And some of the could have been incorporated fairly easily into the story. Like we were saying, the setup is solid enough
Yeah.
that you should be able to like make some like okay scares.
So the biggest reason that the horror fails in this film, for me, and in general, is because you have a concept, which is we can make your worst fears come to life. And as I said, this is something that has been done before. I've seen this in tons of films, right? And so when somebody has a terrible fear and it's portrayed on film, you have this great opportunity to get creative and show these really extravagant versions of people's worst fears personified, right? This is not used or utilized in the slightest. Like, they go through their fears one by one. There's a very convenient expositional scene where people are dropping their fears because they're at a campfire and they're like, why don't we just say our fears out loud? The girl from Happy Death Day, I think, is the one that makes this. I don't remember if it was her or not, but she's in it. And they are like, why don't we just put them out there? And it's completely unprompted. I don't even know why she says it. Maybe because they're living in fear because it's COVID times. I'll go with that. That's fine. So she says like, oh, well, let's put them out there and then promise that we're never going to be afraid of them again. That's not how that works. Anybody with anxiety knows this is bullshit, because anybody who has anxiety, when you hear the statement of like, well, why don't you just not?
Oh my God. Yeah.
It's like, come on. Everybody who's ever had anxiety, condition, or disorder has heard that at least 10 times in their life, 10 times a week, of people being like, have you ever thought about like just not thinking about those things?
And you're just like, what?
That's not how those things work,
No
right? They're your
way.
greatest fears for a fucking reason, right? They're crippling
it's not that
to you.
easy to just let them go.
You can't just say them out loud to your friends and be like, that's it. I'm not claustrophobic no more.
No more.
That's not how this works. Anyways, she does it. They're drunk. They agree.
Yeah.
They say their fears out loud. One is afraid they can't breathe because she's asthmatic. The other one, had something happen to him when he's a kid, so he's claustrophobic. The other one is afraid of people losing trust in him. The other one, you get the point. all of their fears are pretty lame. Honestly, they're like, whoa, I'm afraid of blood, right? And so, like, the way that these are presented, they're not presented in any kind of really cool way of, like, claustrophobia or, like, I can't breathe. Like, the I can't breathe one specifically. Mm-hmm. It's really just the girl going, like, I can't breathe.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's it?
Yeah.
That's all you got?
Oh my god.
That's your worst fear, and it's just basically how it would be in real life because she's asthmatic. She goes through this daily.
Yeah.
So to me, I see it and I'm like, that's it. That's her. That's how you're going to visually interpret her worst fear.
Yeah, it could have been much more exaggerated, which it should have been.
It's a witch.
Yes.
Who can manipulate your mind. She literally makes them hallucinate things.
Yes.
So you can make this, because she literally thrives off of your fear.
Yeah.
So the scareder you are, the more she thrives.
Yep.
So making it more outlandish, making it more ridiculous is actually in her benefit, because it would distort reality more and make them even more afraid, because we fear what we don't know. Right? So the more things come undone, the more we come undone, which means that we release more fear into her, so she becomes more powerful. So she would actually have incentive. This isn't just for us. Right. It's actually a storytelling device as well, of like, yeah, she would want to scare you as much as humanly possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And she does not.
No, she doesn't.
I mean, she does, because all these people get scared, but she doesn't scare the audience enough.
Hell no. If she's feeding off of our fear, she's dead.
Dead.
She's a shriveled up,
starved
little freaking,
a raisin. She's a little raisin.
Oh, raisin has moisture in it. I'm thinking like some kind of a stone. She's nothing. There's no
just porous rock.
Yeah, exactly. Like, for instance, there's another scene in this movie where they're worried that they have somebody in the house who's sick, and he is locked in a room by himself, away from everyone else. And their plan, when this is supposed to be airborne, is to go into his quarantine zone without masks, and then forcibly, by hand, without masks on, force him into another quarantine area.
Yeah.
That would make literally no difference between the one he's in versus the one they're going to move him to.
It doesn't make any difference, and the frustrating part is
and he refuses to come out of the place that he's in.
He's
and even if you didn't want to, just
himself.
lock the door from the outside. He's already quarantined himself.
Exactly. And the fact that they are wearing like bandanas to use as masks, but they literally don't put them on.
They pull them up like last second.
They like touch him. But they're like this close to him like for 5 minutes or more. Yeah, I was so confused by that. I was like, that makes no sense. And there's a lot of that in here of just kind of like, that doesn't make sense. And it's sort of like the story is kind of like the witch is influencing them to act in certain ways based on their fears.
Yeah.
But it's just, it sucks because like we were like, I don't know. I think the actors all did the best they could with what what was written. Sure. Like, I do think that the problem with the film lies in the writing
and the direction.
Because
the actors
I think
are all
that
fine.
the actors would have been fine, and the location was good. All of that could have worked really well, but it's just poorly written and poorly directed.
100%.
And very dissatisfying ending as well.
Oh, sure.
I did not like the ending at all. If there are like multiple kind of like false endings that happen, and I found each of those to be really lame.
Each one outdid the other in lameness.
The other in lameness, yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, we watched this last night, and I'm already forgetting things. I don't even remember how it ended now, and I don't care.
I mean, it's a forgettable film, and in like a day, I'll probably have forgotten everything, 100%. So I'm really glad we didn't see it in theaters.
Oh my god. No.
Yeah, just not good.
No.
Not good.
Dreadful film. So, yeah, you had a decent start chemistry-wise.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, make a more like a buddy comedy.
I know.
Because
Yeah.
you had good chemistry with the characters in the opening.
Yes.
So you could work with that. Just don't go back to horror. That's not your niche. So
No.
that's okay.
That's all right.
That's it. This movie's not a recommendation by any way, shape, or form.
No.
So that's that. All right, guys.
Bye.
Bye.